So here we are with our second little walkthrough project, and this time again it's from BZ Tactical here in the UK. This is the KWA AVA 4 polymer bodied. I've done a few of these for BZ Tactical. So in this first video I'm going to strip this down completely. Unlike the last one that we did in the first video, this one's going to be a little bit more involved, so I'm going to completely strip this down. So I'm not a tech in any way, shape or form, but I've done enough of these over the years, and this one's fairly straightforward. A few little tips and tricks. I have a lot of these little jiffy bags or whatever you call them. So for each piece, or if there's a part, say all these little Allen bolts, they'll go in one bag. If there's something on the internals that has tiny little bits, they'll go in a separate bag. So I just keep everything bagged up separately, so when I come to put it back together, it gives me an idea of what I've got and what goes where. And secondly, which I would advise if you're new to stripping these things down and putting them back together, if there's something that you're not sure on, and one of the things I always am unsure about is which way the wiring goes in the grip for the motor. So what I'll do is when I take this end cap off, I always take a photograph. Obviously I'm not going to need to in this instance because I've got the video camera running, but once I've taken that end cap off, I'll always take a photograph, just so when I come to put it back together, I can refer back to that photograph, see which way the motor's in, where the live positive and the negative go, anything else. This one's fairly straightforward, but on other guns, if there's something that you think I'm never going to remember how this goes back together, do a little photo, do a little video, just something, so when you come to put it back together, you know what goes where. So I'll start on this. It's fairly easy. We'll start by taking the stock off. All you have to do is press that down, and out it slides. This little end cap, obviously we don't need the mag. We'll take that foregrip off. I haven't got anything specialist, but I do have a lot of different. Let's see if that's the right size. It's probably not. So there's that off, and then just to keep them, spin them on nice and tight so you don't lose them. I'm trying this video a little bit different than the first, because I had the camera over my right shoulder initially on the first video, which I've realised, being right-handed, I sometimes block out the camera with my hands and things, so I'm trying it over the left shoulder this time. We'll see if it works out any better. Let's take off, let's grab a flathead. We'll take these sights off. Careful, underneath there is a little nut. So slide that off, make sure you don't lose that little nut. And the second one. Then let's have a look. We can try and get off. This is going to be a little bit awkward in certain circumstances to capture this on video, but inside there is a Phillips. So we'll jump in with a Phillips and we'll try and get that, what the rear stock mounts to. Come here. got it. Yep. So just be careful when you slide these wires out. That's what holds it in place, and the screw. So perfect time. So those two bits I will just put in a little bag, seal that up, and then I know that those are the two parts that hold that on. So that's that off. Then there are actually two, which I believe this little plate here does come off, and there's a tiny little Allen bolt there at the bottom and one at the top, which I believe are different sizes. Obviously, heaven forbid that they should be the same. Make life easy. Again, I'm not doing this in any particular order. The same as that one? No, of course it's not. And with these little bolts, what I'll do is once I've got the gearbox out, I will actually put those back in. I'll screw those into the gearbox. Once the gearbox is out, there's a little tiny washer on that, so be careful you don't misplace that. We will go in and, right size, yep, we'll take these out. There's another two of those. I might as well take them out while I'm at it. Let's see if that pulls off. Oh, yep. So I've got that screw all the way out. That little bolt. So again, just pop that through. And again, that's got a little washer. So make sure you don't misplace that. And then we've got that part, which on this particular one, I'm going to spray that a different colour to the main body of the thing. While I've got this on, let's jump in and take these for the front end. And I'm going to leave all of these Allen bolts on this particular one. So if I haven't mentioned, which I know I haven't, it is actually mentioned on the Patreon page. This second one that I'm going to spray up, we are going for a Resident Evil umbrella core type finish. So it's going to be white, black, red, some of the logos on, and it's going to be really heavily weathered at the end. So there'll be a lot more, we'll go into the weathering a lot more than we did on the first one, because that was fairly simple. It was just on the tan. We used a bit of brown and a bit of black. Whereas on this one, we'll use a few more colours to weather it. Now all these round-headed ones are the same size. So I don't think we need to worry about getting them mixed up at the end. So you've got two round-headed ones either side. So there's four of those that come out, and then underneath there's two flat. So that's all of those taken out. And now this front end won't come off while that is in place, and that is held in place in here. There's a little pin, or sort of it's under tension, so it locks that in place. You can take that out and you could have it either side depending on whether you're left or right handed. So we just need to get something in there to try and push that little pin back. I'll see if this will do. Yep, so you just push it back, that pops out. There's your charging handle, that's out, and now that's out. Fingers crossed I've taken everything out that I need to. Yep. So there, the front end slides off. Pull on the front end. So I've got that off. What I'll do is I'll put all those in a little bag, just so they're all together. They're all together. I'll put those 4 in a bag. Have a look, see if I've got another small one. I've got hundreds of these from when I do the Xbox and PlayStation controllers. All the custom buttons come in these each set, so I've got hundreds of these, and they do come in useful, so I always keep them. So that's those in a separate bag. These I won't bother with because I will screw those back into the gearbox when I take it out. Let's take out the mag release. Let's see if that's the right size. Nope. Let's go in with, is it that one? Yep. And that is, there's a spring under there. It's not under tension that badly, so it's not going to go flying off anywhere. Slide that out, take the spring out, and then what I will do with this is I'll just put that back together so everything's no risk of losing it. This is going to get painted. So my thinking behind this one is the body of it's going to be white. This little lower bit is going to remain black, and then things like the charging handle, mag release, the bolt release, we're going to do those red. We're going to go red on the barrel. We're going to go red on the stock. We'll leave these arms black. Red on the foregrip. That's going to be red. That goes in the back of this. This is going to be white. That's going to be red. That's going to be red. I'll probably do the Riz rail on the top red, and so it's a three colour. Yeah, 3 colours. So we're going to have black, little black, bit of black here and there, red and white. And when this is sprayed up, it's going to look kind of nerfish before we go in and start weathering it, but that's okay. So that's the mag release out. Now if I take this one out, that should allow us to separate the upper and the lower. So is that the right size? No. So this is a pin that actually runs through the body of the thing. So what I normally do to get that out is pop that in, give it a little tap, pull that out, pop those 2 bits back together. And something like that, it's fairly explanatory what that is. You know that's going to hold them together, and as you can see, there's a flat edge and the rounded edge, and that flat edge, when we put it back together, goes up against there. So I will just put that in with the bolt that held the buffer tube of sorts on. So they're in together. So that now should separate the upper from the lower. Unless I've done some, I forgot something. Nope, there we go. A little bit of force. Sometimes you need to keep that pressed down and out the way. So there's our lower and our upper. And then the barrel, well, first of all, the inner barrel with your spring. So I do have I got a bag large enough for that? Again, I'll pop it in just because that spring. Actually, sometimes what I do, this is always an idea, is with a little bit of tape, this is me just being overly cautious, I will just tape that on so that spring's not going anywhere and it's not getting lost. So what I'll do is, if I've got a larger bag like this, to put large bits like that in, and then I'll put all the little bags in the larger bag, and that way they are all contained together. I'm going to put a few more in this. So we've got the upper, we've taken the inner barrel out. Now this one, the outer barrel just pushes back on this, slides out the back of the upper receiver. And there we go. This bit you can slide out if you wanted to. You've got to slide it all the way back for it to come out. It goes and slides back in. So we're going to spray that separately because that's going to be, the whole thing's going to be red, so you can see it through the front handguard. So that's the outer barrel out. Upper polymer receiver. And then we now just need to, just to make my life a little easier and so I don't get smacked in the face if I do catch this by mistake, we'll take the spring out. So that's just a twist. And there's the spring out. We'll go in and we'll take the motor out next, I think. Let's see if that's the right size. Yep. I haven't gone about this in any particular order. This is just how it's coming apart today. So that is one of those examples where I never remember which way the motor has gone in. So you can see the red there for the positive and the black there for the negative. So I'll take a photograph of that usually, just so when I come to put it back together, I can get the lower receiver pointing in a certain way, and I know that the red is at the back and the black is towards the front. So disconnect the motor, and it also gives you an idea of where these wires sit when the motor goes in. So if it doesn't pull out, which sometimes it doesn't, as in this instance, let me see if I have. Of course I haven't. I'm in my son's bedroom. There we go. So that's the motor out. I'll keep that separate, obviously. And then in here, and I have had a few issues with KWAs, there's two Phillips screws down in the bottom of that grip that hold the gearbox in place. So we will go in with our Phillips screwdriver. Have a look, see if this one's any good. Nope, not feeling that one. Keep going, give it a wiggle, and out one drops. That one came out nice and easy. There's one more. You've got one at the front, and one at the back. Yep, just that little click, and then it's loose. Tip it up, give it a shake, and again I'll do the same with those as I'm going to do with those. Once I've got this out, I will screw those back in where they came from, so there's no chance of them getting lost. Now this can snag on those wires, so what I'll do is I'll leave that there for now. We've got this pin to take out, which is holding this in place, so we'll just, anything that'll fit on there. Get it started, pull that out. So there's another body pin. Again, that's fairly, there's nowhere else that can go, so we'll put that in with the other body pin that went at the front. That's them all together. So now this should be, yeah, when you take this out, the bolt release, there is a tiny little spring in here. So if you take this out, just be very careful you don't misplace that spring. I might need a bit of a wiggle. Have a look. Again, this isn't the easiest thing to do on camera. Yep, there's a little spring dropped out, as I thought it might. So that tiny little thing I will put in its own individual bag, and then put that in one of the bigger ones, just because that is the type of thing that's going to get lost. So now I've got a little bit more wiggle room on this. If I just push the wire through and pull that, then where the wire suddenly gets a little bit thinner, I keep that down, push down, and that turns. And there's that off, and then that should just slide out. And there we have our internals, our gearbox and whatnot. So those two screws that were inside the grip, I'll just put back in there. There we go. And then here, these are the two that were inside this. So the longer one was at the bottom. Again, make sure that little washer's still on so you don't misplace that. Just give it a few turns so it's in. Put the top one in. And you probably will forget, like I do, that you've got these in, and when you're trying to put this gearbox back in, it won't, because those screws are in the way. So there's your gearbox, which should leave us with what I'm going to do with this one, because I want this to be, it's going to stay black like the rest of the grip. Sometimes I would paint that a different colour, but in this case I'm not, staying black. So I'll just put that back on. It's just a lot easier that everything's, again, less chance of me losing something, misplacing something. So we have got everything that's going to be painted, and there's two little lengths of rail that you can attach to the front end. Those are in the bag. I need to remember to get those out because they need painting. So what we have, these are the bits that we are left with that we are going to paint. Hopefully these are all on camera. Rapidly running out of room. And then obviously the stock, if that's going to fit in. And the mag. The mags, I think I might just possibly paint this end cap on each of them, or I might just leave them black, weather them, do a few bits and bobs, maybe tape some up with each one of these. There's the one mag that comes with the gun, and then there's going to be an additional 3 mags as well, so each gun will have 4 mags. So I probably should have mentioned, rather than just do one of these for BZ, I'm doing 5. So everything that you see here in front of you, there are going to be 5. So 5 lows, 5 uppers, 5 stocks, 5 barrels, 10 little riz rails, 10 iron sights. So I'm going to have a lot of little parts and big parts that are going to need painting. But that is stage 1 done and dusted. Now, I'm not expecting, if you're following this for just the paint job, that you're going to go out and buy the KWA AVA 4. You're probably more interested in just seeing how I go about painting it. But that in itself is a little tutorial which I'll post up on this page. I'll probably put this particular bit up on YouTube, just so people that have got this particular model, if they need to take it apart for whatever reason, it was fairly straightforward. I mean, I've done a lot of these, so it is fairly straightforward for me, but nothing particularly tricky there. Not like some of the other AEGs, especially with the regular size buffer tube, where you'll need quite a long Phillips screwdriver. There can be a pain to get into. All I've needed there are various size Allen keys or fittings to go in a screwdriver, a flat-headed screwdriver to get your iron sights off, and a Phillips screwdriver to get the bolt out the back. So not a massive amount of tools needed, and that's a complete strip down.